Hi, everyone. I'm going to walk you through exercise 8 from chapter 4 of Reading for Thinking, since we didn't get to go over the answers in class. And going through these exercises, I think will help you to get more familiar with the 7 patterns. So, this first one, number 1, um, it starts out with a background sentence. Individuals often respond differently in a group context than they might if they were alone. And then sentence 2 is your topic sentence. That's the main point of the paragraph. Um, that Irving Janis found that major blunders can be attributed to this pressure to conform or fit in. He follows that up with a term, right? He coined the term groupthink and then provides a definition. So you clearly have definition as one of the patterns in this paragraph. Um, and the other pattern at work here is compare and contrast. As you move down through the paragraph, you see consequently, which is a transition that's always going to indicate um, that's often going to, I'm sorry, not compare and contrast, cause and effect. Consequently is often going to tell you that something happened as the result of something else. So as a result of what happened in sentence 6, it says sentence 7, consequently, members of a group often limit or withhold their opinion. So it's saying that this results in this. So you've got two patterns going on there, okay? And most paragraphs are going to have like one primary pattern, and then there may be instances of the other patterns within it, you know? So in this one, you need to know what groupthink is, and you want to understand how groupthink works, and being able to see that cause and effect relationship is going to help you do that. Okay, second one, which was about gasoline and where crude oil comes from and how it came to be, is we talked about this one in class. It opens up with a topic sentence, and then it explains the process throughout the paragraph. The um, the second thing it does is it also talks about cause and effect. So you see words such as creates and transforms, and those are words that tell you that something is leading to something else. So there's cause and effect going on through the process. Okay. Um, and you see things like over time, which suggests we're moving through a process. And it's moving you through steps of how something happens. So that's how you also know that it's a process paragraph. So that's number 2, process and cause and effect. The third one is a paragraph about houses, and it talks about how American house forms have changed over time as new building materials became available and living styles changed. But in the early days of America's history, there were essentially 3 types of housing. So a couple key words here: forms, right in the first sentence, and types, right in the first sentence. They both indicate that we're going to classify, that we're going to break down some larger entity, houses, into smaller components. Okay, so 3 types of houses. So that's where you get really clear cause and effect, classification here. And then the other thing that happens in the paragraph is much later. You get at sentence 8, down towards the bottom here, I'll scroll it down. You get, however, heating was more of a problem than it was for those who lived in a simple cape. And it's starting to compare different kinds of houses or contrast them, talking about differences between the different groups of homes that it's already been broken down to. So a lot of times when you get classification where they take some larger entity and break it down into parts, where they say there's like 2 parts or 3 parts, they then go on to compare and contrast the 3 groups or the 2 groups. So a lot of times those 2 patterns will work in tandem. So when you're reading that paragraph, understanding that is going to help you to comprehend the paragraph and quickly figure out what it is that you need to be getting out of that paragraph in your comprehension and in your annotation. Okay, the fourth one, I also want to, with number 4, I want to point out, it starts out with, although everyone thinks it won't happen to them, house fires are one of the most common causes of deadly accidents, and no one is immune to the threat of a house fire. That's a background sentence, right? And then it moves into the topic sentence where it says, still, there are several precautions, okay, that people can take. Several precautions indicates to you that you're going to get simple listing. the reason it's simple listing and not classification or time order is because several precautions just means they're going to be given in any order. They're not going to be given in a particular order of importance or in a chronological order. They're just going to be different precautions. They're not being grouped like they would be in classification into like 3 different types of precautions. So that's what makes this simple listing as the major pattern. You also have cause and effect because it talks about it opens with causes. It says that these are the most common causes of deadly accidents. So you also have a hint of cause and effect here. But what you mostly have is a list of the precautions you can take, because the second sentence is your topic sentence. The rest of the paragraph is listing that. So if I'm outlining or if I'm annotating this paragraph, in my margin, I'm going to have those precautions just kind of listed out and maybe quickly defined. Okay. So you'd have A and D for number 4. Number 5, the legal term due process identifies an established course of action. If I look at this right away, I see something in italics in the first sentence, which I almost am positive is going to end up giving me a definition in this paragraph of what due process is. The word identifies is also a clue that you're going to get a definition, and that is exactly what you get in this paragraph. You get a definition of what due process is. And the paragraph develops just like Chapter 4 told you these paragraphs will develop. It gives you background information on due process. It explains where it's found in the Constitution and what some of the aspects are of it. So paragraph 5, strictly definition. Okay, paragraph 6 talks about cats and dogs. So right away, I'm suspecting it's going to be compare and contrast because it's talking about 2 things. And often when a paragraph talks about 2 things, it makes some comparison, it points out either a similarity and or a difference between the 2 things that are talked about in the paragraph. And that does play out here. It does compare and contrast, and you get some of the transition words, such as in sentence 2 you see in contrast, in sentence 6 you see however. So you get a lot of stuff there that indicates we're comparing and contrasting the 2 animals. The other thing you do get is a little bit of cause and effect. In sentence 6 it says cats, however, couldn't be trained to do anything they didn't want to do, which is perhaps why they were worshipped as gods in some societies. So it's explaining that that's why. And if that's why, then that means that's the cause. So you could also say that there's cause and effect happening here, though there's not a lot of it. The major pattern, the primary pattern, is certainly comparison and contrast. Okay, number 7, paragraph 7 is about Harold, Adrian, Russell, Kim Philby, right, who avoided detection for more than 30 years. First of all, the first thing I see here is I see lots of dates. As soon as I see dates, I'm imagining that I'm getting a sequence of events, okay? The other thing is that first sentence is a topic sentence, and it tells me that the point of the paragraph is that he used his talent to avoid detection. So it's going to use the time order sequence to make a point, to make an argument that this was what allowed him to avoid detection for so long, okay? And that is borne out by the paragraph. That's what the paragraph talks about. And it also talks about cause and effect. I'm looking at my notes here. Hold on a second. I have notes on words and I can't find the words. All right, let me just keep moving because I don't want to run out of time on the video. But there is cause and effect here too if you go through where it's showing how certain things cause other things to happen. Okay, 8th one. Again, I've got italics right in the beginning, so I'm almost positive I'm going to get definition. And in fact, that is what I get. So, habeas corpus petitions are frequently filed by individuals serving prison sentences. The rest of the paragraph really explains to me what these petitions are. So it's defining it. Okay, number 9. You're going to get really good at picking out classification the more you see them. Right away, I don't have to go very far at all in this paragraph before I know exactly what the pattern is and what I need to learn from the paragraph. It says, that there's a caste or class system, which was outlawed in 49, but it persists to this day. And India's caste system divides the population into 4 basic groups. So that first sentence is a background sentence. Second sentence tells me the main point of the paragraph, that it divides the population into 4 basic groups. That's classification right there, and the rest of the paragraph is going to explain to me that classification. If I scan it, I can see there's a bunch of italics, a bunch of words in italics, and I'm pretty sure, even just previewing it, that those are going to be the different castes. Okay, so this one is going to be classification. Okay, last one. David Bruce Raymer's life was a tragic and unintentional experiment that shed light on the complexity of gender identity. This paragraph does 2 things. It does, you're going to notice a lot of dates down at the bottom here, 2004. If I move backwards, I go to 1979, 1972. I think that's the last date I got. Yep. So there's evidence that we're going to move through sequence of events. Okay, and then there's also cause and effect, where it's telling you a lot about how one thing leads to the next, okay, throughout the paragraph. This is not process. You know, it would be process if it told me about the surgery and what the process was. It would be definition if it explained to me what gender identity is, for example. Those would be how those patterns would be used. So that just kind of helps you to see how these paragraphs are used in practice, okay? Being familiar with them is going to help you just enormously with your reading, no matter what discipline you're in and what you're doing, and especially in textbooks, which is what you're going to do a lot of your work in your first couple of years in college. So, you know, hopefully you did well on these when we did them in class. I'm sure you probably missed a few, but hopefully from hearing me talk about them, you feel a little more comfortable and you're ready to do the 3 exercises that I asked you to do for homework. Good luck.